Well, Congress adjourned last night, and here's a surprise. They didn't finish the job. Spending bills and Bush tax cuts, among other things, still loom as lawmakers prepare to face the voters in a very tough and maybe contentious midterm election. To talk about that now, we're joined at the desk by CBSNews.com, Brian Matabali. Brian, this is not a surprise. I mean, Congress rarely gets the whole agenda taken care of, but these are big issues that they've gone home with.
Well, I mean, if nothing else, they passed a continuing resolution because they don't have a budget. So literally the government would have shut down without this resolution. It lasts for 2 months, and in 2 months they're going to need to pass something. The Bush tax cuts is another great example. I mean, that is probably the most contentious issue right now. The Democrats want to extend them for everyone up to $250,000 for families or $200,000 for individuals. Republicans say even people above that level should have the Bush tax cuts extended. This is a big fight. Democrats didn't want to have these votes because vulnerable Democrats don't want to be exposed to the possibility of ads that say, hey, you want a big tax increase. Even if it's only a tax increase on the rich, you know, their opponents will probably leave that out of the ad. And then on the other side, some Democrats are saying, look, this is we have to draw this difference. We are for the middle class. The Republicans, they argue, are for the rich, and that's something we want to bring out. So there's a real philosophical divide going on right now, and instead of choosing one side or the other, the Democrats opted to just sort of kick the can down the road.
I was going to say, they just booted this down the road, but they have to come back to this.
Right.
I mean, these tax cuts are sunsetted, so unless they take some action, they're going to all go away, and I don't think they want to be accused of raising taxes on everybody.
Right. If nothing happens on January 1st, everyone will have a huge tax increase, whether you're poor, whether you're rich. No one wants that to happen. That's political suicide, and that won't happen. The question now, it's a bit of a game of chicken, right? Are the Democrats going to put forth a bill that doesn't include the tax increase for the wealthy? There's some talk of extending them for all people for 2 years, but again, that's kicking the can down the road. And that is something Congress is very good at. So the question is going to be what happens in a lame duck session, and to some extent, what the guts are of the Democrats, whether they have the guts to try to push this thing through, even though it doesn't include the wealthy, an extension of the tax breaks for the wealthy.
And one of the really interesting things is, you were saying earlier that some of these Senate races, the seats are seated right away.
Right.
So you could have a total mix in terms of the math on the Senate side.
This is really interesting. So in the Senate right now, the Democrats control 59 votes. They need 60 to break a filibuster. Scott Brown screwed things up on that front from Massachusetts. But let's say in a few of these states, Delaware, where Joe Biden was became the vice president, and therefore his seat immediately becomes available after the election, President Obama's seat. And there's 3 of these seats, and arguably 4. And if Republicans win these seats, they go immediately in the lame duck session from controlling 59 seats to controlling 55. Becomes a lot easier for the Republicans to filibuster. Look at an issue like Don't Ask, Don't Tell. You expect the Senate to return to Don't Ask, Don't Tell in the lame duck session. There's a possibility they'll do that. And there's also a possibility that they'll be able to get the 60 votes in that period. There are Republican senators who are open to that. But if they only have 55 votes as opposed to 59 or 56 or even 57, it becomes a lot harder to overcome that filibuster. So there are real immediate consequences on major issues that are going to happen not in January when the new Congress is seated, but potentially right after the election in November.
A couple other interesting political points of the day apart from Congress. Tell me what happened last night with the Republican candidate in New York.
Okay, Carl Paladino, who is certainly one of the most colorful candidates we have this year. Surprise victor, Tea Party nominee. He's got the Republican nomination. He's facing Andrew Cuomo. And someone got a cell phone video of him and a New York Post reporter named Fred Dicker. And this video, hopefully we're showing it, shows the 2 men getting into a physical confrontation. And at one point, Paladino says to the reporter, Fred Dicker, he basically threatens him. He says, I'm going to come after you. And Dicker asks how, and Paladino says, just watch. I mean, the thing, it looks like a scene from The Sopranos or something. It's unbelievable. And Paladino's campaign, I mean, he's a guy who has acknowledged forwarding some emails that had some racist and sexist content in them. He's just, he is a real sort of the people kind of politician.
There's the video. I mean, we're not hearing it, but you can see this is not the way you normally want to have an interview.
No, this is not what you expect from a gubernatorial candidate. But Paladino has captured a lot of people's A lot of people like Paladino's style. They like the fact
Well, that might resonate with people.
It does, it might. I mean, Paladino he uses the Howard Beale "mad as hell" speech. He likes to say, "I'm mad as hell." I mean, this is a guy who's really channeling this Tea Party anger, and he did very, very well in the Republican primary. And there was a poll that suggested that he might be giving Andrew Cuomo, who is expected to roll to a very easy victory, a run for his money.
that is quite interesting. And then one of the worst kept secrets in Washington, of course, involves the chief of staff at the White House, Rahm Emanuel.
Right.
There was this parlor game of is he staying, is he going? Well, I think everyone knew he was going. Now that's official, apparently.
Well, I mean, that's what's been reported. We don't actually know for sure, but there's an expectation that tomorrow, Friday, there will be an announcement that Rahm is leaving to run for mayor of Chicago. Potentially there will be a Rose Garden ceremony, a big goodbye. So that's an important moment for the White House. They're probably looking at adding an interim chief of staff for a couple months while they try to figure out who this new person is going to be. And Rahm's departure is going to be part of an overhaul at the White House post-midterm to sort of think about what are we going to be doing in the second 2 years of this term, what is our agenda going to be going forward, and who are the people that are going to be helping us figure out what that is.
Big turnover for the administration. A number of the financial advisors, now the chief of staff, and I'm sure there will be others.
Right.
All right, Brian Montopoli, thanks very much for
Absolutely.
joining us.